In transplant coordination, people will help you through the choice of what's the best avenue for you in terms of a transplant. The most important thing is information, is getting educated and understanding. The second thing, or equal thing, is us investigating you fully. And then the third thing comes down to the choice of the transplant, whether that's a live donor option, whether it's joining the waiting list or some other form of transplant. I'm Paul Robertson. I'm the transplant coordinator at Westmead Hospital. My role pretty much covers the preparation of people prior to the transplant, so waiting list management and transplant coordination. The most important thing, without question, is education and information. Being prepared for a transplant, understanding what is ahead of you is really the absolute key. People who are well informed on the whole will do better. So education books, attending education days, gathering as much information about your situation as possible. We have a lot of people who wait a long time, and you can become disheartened waiting for a transplant. We offer support through that, either through the coordinators. We have the services of a very lovely and capable psychologist. Otherwise, I think talking to other patients who've been through this type of thing is very valuable. Sometimes people feel it's a little bit removed from their everyday treatments, but it shouldn't be. This needs to be a partnership from the beginning to right through the transplant for the rest of your life. We're always open to questions. We would love people to be more prepared than less prepared. So emails, phone calls, whatever that might take. So when it comes to deciding that you might be considering a transplant, there's a number of investigations that we want to do. They're mainly aimed at trying to prove that the transplant option will be better for you than any other treatments. We'll look at your past history in terms of your risk of cancer. So you'll have the usual health screening tests that most people should have. We will then look at other things that you might bring. If you had other health problems, then we might need to send you to some other specialists. But the real other thing, I suppose, is a dental check. Because after a transplant and being immunosuppressed, if you get an infection in your gums or in your teeth, much harder to deal with later. So we want your teeth healthy. But the most important thing on top of all of that is a skin check. The coordinators will then be able to go through all of your tests and give you the advice as to when it's likely that you'll require the transplant and what's the best way. Quite often a more successful way to receive a transplant is from a live donor, particularly a well-matched and related donor. Not everybody has that option, and it's quite a difficult discussion, I'd imagine. Much easier if the donor comes to you first, and that happens quite frequently now with education and public awareness, and that certainly makes our life a lot easier. We're not on a waiting list. People don't wait many years, and therefore their outcomes usually are much better. For people who don't have a live donor, they really need to rely on the generosity of the general public. It's very patient-focused, these decisions. Some people will choose not to have a transplant, or there might be times when we assess people for a transplant and we help them, or I guess we decide for them, sadly, but that a transplant's not going to improve their life. There's no rush to make these decisions. We don't want people to sign up to a waiting list so that they don't feel somebody else is getting ahead of them. That'll never happen. When they're activated on the list is when they're ready. So ready physically by doing all the tests, and ready psychologically and socially, so that everyone's on board. It's important you bring your family members to these sorts of things because they're going to be on the journey as well. The waiting list relies upon you finding a blood group match followed by a tissue match. It's not just a front of the line to the back of the line list. If you queue up and you're second in the queue and somebody who's fifth in the queue receives service and you don't, most people get quite upset. But in transplant lists, that often happens. And usually it happens because that person receives a well-matched graft, which means that they're probably going to do very well with that match. So it's frustrating, and I think waiting is the most frustrating part. Once you join the list, you don't have to stay active on that list forever. You can join the list, become active on the list, and if your circumstances change, you're worried about the transplant, you need to take some time out, we can do that. You can be placed on hold on the waiting list. So people come in and out of the transplant waiting list all the time. Your position on the list is never lost. It's scary, but it's not overwhelming, and it's a relatively common thing. We do 120 transplants here a year, so we're doing 10 a month. So it's a weekly occurrence. It is a stressful time, but it's something that we're very positive about. We will help you through all of this type of thing. You will get a call from us. Mine will go blank, but we're here to fill in the blanks. It's our job to help you understand what's going to happen, and the whole team is here to help you.